Okay, cool. Okay, so we're recording. Cool.
And it's all y'all's. Again, just maybe to get some context, we had that impromptu conversations plural on that Saturday, but I feel like they kind of culminated with two questions, which is like the role of the artist, the role of the critic. Zuri was advocating for, a closer collaborative relationship between those two. And I think that, I just want to, Quincy and I, the way we're thinking about the zine is as much as possible, really document the essence of those 2 days. And that's why we wanted to, get some conversation between you two and put that in the zine as well.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
All right. Enjoy
Yeah,
your conversation.
thank you. Cool. Um, did you want to start or I don't know, how do we leave off or
I don't really know how to how to
yeah.
start, and my
I
brain
mean,
is like a little fried. So
yeah. I mean, I can start like I mean, I guess to what is the trying to like pick up on what we talked about with just like the you asking me like what the role of the critic is and like since that I've been thinking a lot about like so I was actually talking to a friend in the UK who's like he's finishing his undergrad degree there and he's like thinking a lot with like about this question like the role of the critic and like we've been thinking collaboratively about like decipherment as this like basically like he was just asking me like what do I do as a critic and it gave me a moment to really like reflect and like I was thinking a lot about how like I think the role of the critic in this like collaborative process as I imagine it is to really like allow the artist to think differently about their own practice and to from a vantage point that they can't see it from. Like I think we all have our kind of you know, like blind spots or like parts of ourselves that we can't see. And so I think the role of the critic is to like be a kind of like mirror to that. And so just to give like a quick example, like I was interviewing Lord Jamonte Ogbon, who's a rapper in from Charlotte. And I was like doing a quick note or decipherment on his one of his music videos, and I was talking about how like it's him like trying to reflect on his relationship to women and like how like him reflecting on. And I like cited one of his lines, and he was like, "Nigga, why did you cite that?" But for me, like it was a moment to think through like to reflect back to him that I see him grappling with his relationship to masculinity and like his relationship to like, his relationship to women in particular ways. And initially he was like, maybe a little uncomfortable. Like he was like, I don't want to be called out like this. But then ended up using part of it for like a song that he did, like sampling it for a song that he did like later. Like and so for me, like it felt like kind of like validation about like, like sometimes like people do want to hear like those parts of themselves or do want to even though it's uncomfortable having those parts themselves reflected back to them that maybe aren't necessarily the most like polished but nonetheless like are maybe something closer to like the real or like to the essence of what they're doing which is I mean I think black art is really about exploring the questions like exploring yeah exploring questions about the self and the self's relationship to other people but yeah so that's just kind of what I've been thinking about recently.
it's funny that you, because when you mentioned this rapper before, I didn't know who you were talking about, and then like 2 days later, he shouted me out on something.
Oh
And
shit.
yeah,
I
um,
love that.
I was like, oh, okay, this is who this is. Um, I think the critic is a Eurocentric concept.
hmm
I know that's like,
No, dude. Yeah.
but I think it's a Eurocentric concept. I think um, you can be in community with art and you can critique art, but the critic is sort of presents itself like this authority figure.
hmm
Um, and so uh, mm, I don't believe in the critic. Do I
hmm
think that you should call things into question?
hmm
Yeah, but I think that there's this activist who I am blanking on their name, but they talk a lot about the carceral state.
hmm
Like they coined this term like carceral spectacle that
hmm
sort of
Is it Nicole Fleetwood?
no.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Just a guess.
But they talk a lot about the carceral spectacle, and I'm paraphrasing it, but carceral and spectacle is definitely in this term that they coined, and it talks more about like call out culture. But I think that the call out culture that millennials have cultivated on the internet has definitely lent itself to the critic, and it's created a space where everyone is a critic. And if you fail to be a critic, it is some sort of intellectual failing. If you don't have an opinion on something, um, and I think that's not necessarily what art is for, right? And so there's a difference in like you having this conversation with this rapper and saying, "Hey, maybe this line is misogynistic," right? That's you being in community with another black person, um, and I don't know your pronouns or your gender, how you identify, but two male presenting people navigating um, misogyny, that's more communal than it is a critic, because whose word is that, right? And so I I'm putting the album out in 2 days. An article came out, this British publication, and he's critiquing my work, right?
Hmm.
Absolutely no fucking idea what the songs are about. Like he's going through the songs one
Hmm.
by one, and all of it is wrong. All of it is wrong, right? I made the album. Um, I don't know that I make identity work, but I'm a racialized person. Like that's just who I am in this
Hmm.
in society, whether I like it or not.
Hmm.
And I am making music about my experience, which is a black experience. I don't know that I'm setting out to be like,
Right.
this.
Right. The world already tells you you're black, so you don't have to tell us that you're black. Like you
Right.
just live and it therefore is black.
But
Yeah.
this is an experience that this white British man
Hmm.
has no fucking clue. And
Right.
he wrote a whole article basically, this is what this is about.
Yeah.
Wrong. Everyone wrong. I'm
Yeah.
talking about shit that is, I guess my work is esoteric
Hmm.
in the sense that if you know, you know what I'm talking
Hmm.
about. And so I think because I while you were talking, I had to like look up the definition. I had a therapist one time. I was like, let's look up the definition of the word, right?
Yeah.
And the critic is is an academic thing, you know,
Hmm.
and academia is whiteness, not
Yeah.
uh in intellectualism.
Mhm.
Intellectualism is for
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah.
We are all a genius in our own right, but
Yeah.
academia is is for white people. That's some white
Yeah.
people shit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah. Can I say that I think that I like this because I think it's pushing me to think be more precise with my vocabulary because like I mean I agree with everything that you said about the critic and I should have been more clear about like I also so the journal that I have, the first edition, the first time we named it, it was called Decipher Black Notes on Culture and Criticism, with criticism crossed out, because we actually were thinking with Sylvia Wynter, who's this Jamaican philosopher, playwright, poet, polemist, kind of does it all, and like a important Black study scholar. And she like wrote this essay about how like, criticism is the thing exactly about what you're talking about. Like criticism is this like detached view of a cultural object of basically like, you know, of this thing out there, right? And she argues for like this move away from criticism and towards like decipherment, which is like the practice that I use, which is, so I could say that like, am I a critic? No, like I'm more of like a decipherer, which is this mode of like, um, being in community. And what I really see as a mode of like defense of, of like I view so I guess just to one move away from criticism because I agree with everything that you just said. And so instead talk about like my how I view the role of generally the person who we'll say like the person who writes about music, who isn't the person making it. Um, and which I'll also say is I think that like both of those are types of like practices, like both are practitioners of something, right? And I think that what I like about what you're saying is it's drawing out is that like one thing that I emphasize for me is the way that when I'm writing about music, I'm not trying to assert that this is what it means. I'm saying that this is what it does for me. Like this is what like based off of like what I've gone through, based on my experiences, based off of where I'm at, literally at the physical place that I'm listening to the music. Like this is what is evoked for me. And so yeah, and so I think that that type of like collaborative like back and forth leads to much like many more like a much more organic like experience between the two as two people who are literally just like creating something new in the moment. Like, because it's like, based off of what you've done, now I can create something else based off of what you've done. And then we come together and like make this new thing. Which again, like literally led to like that song, which like I don't think that like a critic, in this criticism as the way that like you're describing it, like, that's not something that could happen because criticism isn't viewed as like a co-creation. It's viewed as simply a destruction or a deconstruction um, of the thing that's in front of them, rather than a way to like use that thing in front of them or use that song or that movie or that to explore something deeper about themselves. Um,
Authoritative.
right, right.
It, it's authoritative. I am in this, um, like I'm taking a group music class right now on Zoom.
Hmm.
And sorry for all the noise if you can
Oh,
hear
you're
it.
good.
I'm taking this class on Zoom, and for our homework, we all present a song, right? And the teacher in the class is like, tell us something you like about it, and then
Mhm.
tell us ways you think that we could improve upon this thing, right? And that way we're coming into this space. We
Mhm.
understand that there is some appreciation for the work, and that there is some communal care for improvement of the work,
Mhm.
right? And so
Mhm.
I'm not saying you have to kiss the artist's ass, right?
Right.
But because if there are ways that you think that this can be improved upon, like when you talking to this rapper, you say, okay, hey friend, I noticed a little misogyny sprinkled in there. And though I am a fan of your work, I think that this is something. I also think that you shouldn't be writing about work you don't appreciate. Because what's the point?
Or even like, so I recently wrote this article about this play Prince Faggot, and just to the point about like when I view the way that I view writing and the way that I view decipherment as like a defense. And so the way that like this was like this white play, this white gay play. And that shit was just so anti-black, so transphobic, da da da. And it was getting critically acclaimed. And I was like, okay, somebody's got to write something to like set the record straight on like why this shit is just like violent. But that's like the only case. So that's like the only cases where I'd be like, you know what, I am gonna write a hate piece, especially when it's against like these authoritative, like because they're themselves trying to posit this authoritative position and like they're being recognized like by these like establishments for something that's like violent against black people. So it's like, but yeah.
That's protest, though.
Mm, mm,
That's protest, though. A lot
yeah.
of times, what is happening in these spaces is sorry that someone is creeping around trying to not be
I'm
loud. That's being distracted.
dead.
I think a lot of times what is happening in these spaces
Mhm.
is that critique is often racial violence, gender
Mhm.
violence, just plain old insensitivity, ignorance, or white male authoritativeness, if that's a word, is often happening under the guise of criticism.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's a totally different thing than protest, where,
Right.
you know,
Right.
Paul Thomas Anderson, I think is his name, puts out one battle after another, and this is clearly like propaganda against black women, propaganda against activist movements. This
Mhm.
is when you critique that, or when you are, you know, writing your hate piece for that, that's more, I am in protest against propaganda. If you know this play that you're talking about, this is an act of violence because this is anti-black, and this
Mhm.
is, you know, that's different than
Mhm.
you made this piece and I went and I hate watched it, and it
Mhm.
isn't necessarily violent against any community per se,
Mhm.
you know, not in any, you know, but
Mhm.
I'm going to tear it down because we have a culture of that. and
Mhm.
and intellectualism is a very interesting thing because it's a way that you can I guess perform class,
Yeah.
you know, like there's aesthetic ways to perform class, and then there are intellectual ways to perform class, and we are all trying to perform class. That's how we're
Yeah.
surviving in this world.
Yeah.
And we millennials and the internet, we have cultivated a culture where you are failing to perform class if you are
Mhm.
not in criticizing something.
Mhm.
And so now we have a race to like who can intellectually tear down something the most
Mhm.
eloquently.
Right.
and and in some ways I think that we've done a good job at identifying what is wrong with the world. We understand that, you know, our capitalistic heroes are not all that we thought they were. We understand a lot about how the world works. We are online teaching each other a lot. We learn a lot from our peers now. But I think we've also got to think about, if we tear everything down, who's
Mhm.
building anything?
Mhm.
And I think um, because the work of the critic is to criticize, is not to uplift, you know, or even to like you said, collaborate. It's to
Mhm.
criticize, and everything can't be torn down, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder like I don't know. I mean, I lean a little pessimistic, a little nihilistic, I've been told. But so I'm always wondering like, what are the like I don't know. I just always think about if we leave everything open to like there is no sacred cow, like I mean this conversation started because we're talking about sinners, right? And I told Malik after I really liked, the comments about like being more like what you had said about just a reminder to be more like, seeing the other side about like what the film does provide. Like not that it's not a matter of not writing the review, but just a matter of like accounting for like what the film does for Black people who aren't necessarily like getting a PhD in Africana studies, like the people who like, they do see at the end of the day, like they're going and seeing like, hoodoo being represented in a way that, hasn't normally been represented, like as something that is, and like from there, then I can get into like, well, this is how I, maybe trouble the representation or da da da, but really being clear about like having to acknowledge like that, like, you know, this other side of the movie does exist. Like this other side of this other view of the movie does exist. So like I really like appreciated that. Um, yeah, but just like thinking about like, is there anything, what is above critique? Or what is above destruction? Or what is above in order to like not and just not for the end goal of like, just doing it for doing it, but because the destruction of that thing might reveal that we didn't actually want it to begin with, you know?
I think that that is a nuanced thing. I don't think
Mm.
that it's a like one size fits all answer for that.
Yeah.
I think it's more like I'm gonna take criticism and all. Well, I'm gonna change the subject, but not really.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, Sometimes when I am internalizing, like when I'm investigating internalized misogyny, right? I grew
Mhm.
up with women who were really, really misogynistic. And throughout
Mhm.
my life, I've had to unlearn like how I've been taught to see the world. And one of the
Mhm.
things that I would think about is if I'm mad at this woman, right? Is there a man in the vicinity that I should be more mad at?
Right. Right.
And I think that, when we talk about each other as black folks, because we marginalized people we're always going to have to take a different type of care with each other,
Mhm.
not excuse each other, right? Like, for example, Jay-Z had an interview the other day. I have never taken advantage of people before. I was there when you
Right.
at the center. I
Yeah.
was there,
Yeah.
and so do we cut him some slack? No. Why? People lost their homes. Pe-
Hmm.
People's lives were never the same again. I know people to this day,
Hmm.
their life has never been the same.
Hmm.
That's a different thing than, to me, why I interpret this film as being enjoyed so much.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
um, and I think it's up. It's a case by case discernment. Just
Hmm.
case by case.
Hmm.
And but what I usually ask myself and everything, even, like, does this criticism leave the group chat? Even for me, because we're gonna have our feelings about things. We're gonna like shit, we're not gonna like shit, but if, a peer of mine puts an album out, or some of my peers are not the nicest fucking people, in the industry, are and then I have to discern, like, what's the difference between, like, this person has a nasty attitude and this person is an abuser, you know?
Hmm.
I think I used to say this thing that we've gone from zero to R. Kelly with everything,
Hmm.
and I think
All
we've
right.
just got to discern.
Okay. All right, 1 second. Oh, getting ran out of my department by white people in the Africana Studies department. Look at that. What is this for? What is it?
Class, it's a just
Oh, okay. What is that?
like a student talk class.
Oh, okay. I'm trying. Like you were saying, academia is white. Because
Yeah,
if you can't be free in an Africana Studies department, where can you be free? But yeah. But sorry, you were saying.
I just think I think it's I think that's how we take care of each other, you
Hmm.
know? Like, I saw this article, and it wasn't written by someone black, it was written by like a brown person. But they wrote this
Hmm.
article on Mavi, the rapper,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they really dogged him out.
I heard
And
about this. Yeah.
and the and the criticism was just, that he was rapping about more material things
Hmm.
than, what he used to. And so they
Hmm.
really like ragged on him. And I think also, like, black people, we have this sort of there's a higher moral expectation for us.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, like, we aren't allowed to miss the mark, because then it's this big moral failing. But
Yeah.
it's just like, he's going through a moment. He's a 20 something year old kid experiencing more money than he's ever had And so he's
Mhm.
having his I bought a fucking chain moment. It
Yeah.
isn't the end of the fucking world. He, like
Yeah.
he's not slapping women and exploiting people. He just
Mhm.
he bought a fucking chain and he wants to rap about it.
Right.
And like maybe he gets a chance to do that on this album. Because
And
he,
well,
oh no, go
so
ahead.
I was gonna say like, and I think this that because I did an interview with Mavi a couple years ago too, and that's a perfect chance like, to again as a collaborator to think about the trajectory of Mavi's career. Like this nigga used to be rapping about depression and family shit and da 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 da, over to the point where when I first started listening to Mavi, I thought this nigga was my age. This nigga was about 6, 7 years younger than me. I'm like, like there's a way that like we want the artist to put to bear everything for us for these extended lengths of time. It's like that's not sustainable, like as a person, like to constantly having to like be going through shit to now provide me stuff to rap or provide me stuff to listen to. Yeah, like no, I just agree with that, and I think that that's just a key opportunity to really think about like, you know think about the body of an artist's work, like again, collaboratively, like what like how do we get to this moment like with Mavi and not as an indictment. That's a big thing too. Like again, like what you're saying about moral indictment, like I think that like, Jamonte was okay with me, bringing up, the misogyny because it was, I'm not saying you're a terrible person. I'm not saying you're a bad person or like whatever, like, and you need to be whatever. It's just like we're like my thing is like, and I think this is even related to like my philosophy towards like, thinking about art in general is that like I view it all as like inherently a failure. Like I think it's all gonna miss the mark about being the most radical or the most, revolutionary thing. I think that like it's impossible to, if it was the most radical and revolutionary thing, it would have, ended anti-blackness already. So it's like it would have already destroyed capitalism, it would have already obliterated the patriarchy. So I think that like for me, like thinking about, I don't know, just like following up that point about like morality and just like because this is a big thing about why like Afro pessimism, for example, is because it's like fuck being a good person or a bad person. It's just like what are you doing with the power that you're invested with? Like what are you doing with the power that you have? Like now that with your capacity to make art, what are you doing like with that capacity? And this is not to say that you're a bad person because you do this or you do that. It's not even a matter of say, even the example of Jay-Z. I'm not gonna say you're a good person or a bad person, but I will say that you're unethical. Like I don't care about because I mean he's not gonna respond to being called a good person or a bad person. But he might not respond to being called ethical, but it's like nonetheless, you are a powerful person with all of these resources and you displace all these people, you're unethical. And that's just it. I'm not saying that, I'm not calling on God to come down and cast you down or whatever, inshallah it might happen, who knows? But, but yeah, I don't know. Just like follow up on that because I just read that review, like saw parts of that review and it also just like kind of pissed me off. But yeah. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, so I can I ask you one question?
Hmm.
It's just so after you release this album, because this is a question I always have because I'm always like, y'all wrote a review too quick. I'm like, y'all ain't even sit with the work yet. What is the minimum length of time that you think somebody needs to sit down and listen to the work before they actually write? Like, at what point is a review released and you're like, that's too early, I already know it's bad?
30 days.
Mm,
And so some people have my work for 30 days,
mm,
like when you have PR, they're pitching
mm,
the album 30 days in at the beginning of the album campaign, so
mm,
if you've had my work for 30 days and you sat with it,
mm,
then you can tell me if you like it or you don't like it, right?
mm.
And some people, you're not going to like it because it's not meant for you. You know,
Right.
like the review I read the other day, the album not even out yet, a review's coming out, which is one is
It
crazy.
pissed me.
And this is from like
Nuts.
and this is from like a reputable UK site, and also your interpretation of every song is wrong.
Right.
You have no idea. They have a song on the album called The Great Migration,
Hmm.
and it's about I was getting a little depressed about the diaspora wars because I go to London a lot,
Yeah.
and I was on TikTok. I went down a TikTok rabbit hole, and it's
Mhm.
about like us reflecting ourselves back to each other. And
Mm,
um, I guess also I've been softening a lot, so it's also just about approaching things with an open heart and having a loving perspective and committing to that, right?
mhm, mhm.
And this nigga think I'm talking about romantic love, you know?
Yeah.
But like a black person who is will
Right.
side with the lyrics, you know, I'm
Right.
saying every nigga I know is special down to the bones.
Hmm.
Like you like but this is not for you, or
Hmm.
you are not humble enough to research because we're experts on them and they're not experts on us.
Right. And they think it's reciprocal and it's not.
Yeah. Like and it goes back to that authoritative, like I get to
Hmm.
just come to this and say.
Hmm.
And then the other thing that I really hate when white people write about my shit, because it feels like they're telling me if I'm being a good nigga or not, in the
Mm.
sense that like, oh, you've tapped into the soul. I don't like when you do soul like that. I don't like when you do hip hop like that. Do it
Yeah.
like this is the right
Yeah.
way to nigger like this is how I like my niggers to nigger. And I don't
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
you
dead.
know, like,
Yeah.
because I mean
Yeah.
that's how they write about me, like,
Yeah.
you're not doing the soul thing right. You do the
Yeah.
soul it like this. What
Yeah.
the fuck are you talking about? You're a
Right.
45-year-old white man from Paddington. Like,
Like, what are we doing?
so I think 30 days. I think
Okay.
30 days, um because sometimes you'll listen to a record and you think you don't like it. And then
Hmm.
you sit with that motherfucker and you like it. And sometimes you sit with that shit and you think you like it, and then
And
you
you don't
like
like it.
and you
Yeah.
don't like it. I
Yeah.
think 30 days is 16 songs. It's 16 songs that are 3 to sometimes 5 minutes long. How
Hmm.
the fuck are you digesting that in a week?
Right. Right.
You got to sit with that. So
Right.
that's what I think. I think that's the respectful thing to do.
Hmm.
But I can't control what people do, child. They gonna do what the
Yeah.
fuck they gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real. Like, I just ask that because for me, like, I always feel this pressure when something drops to like write a review about it. And I'm like, but I want to live with it first. Like, I'm just now writing about voodoo for the first time after sitting with it for 5 years straight. Like, literally, I'm just listening to it over and over and over. I did a review of Moonlight. That shit came out in 2016. I was watching it religiously since 2022 just to like literally get inside the film. Like just to literally like live the film, like figure out like what are the intricacies of this. And so when I see people like, I saw people drop a review on Jill Scott's album a day it came out, 2 day. I'm just like, if this is what it takes to be I think actually that's what got me away from wanting to like seriously pursue like music journalism at all, is it was just like the pace that y'all want me to write at is just that's not realistic. Like that's not it's giving like factory, it's giving corporate, and that's not what music is about. That's not what black art is about. Like that's not like niggas are bearing their soul. Like when I first wanted to get into music criticism, the first thing I did was take a rap class. Because I was like, if I'm gonna be, talking about people work, I need to put myself out there and open myself up to, critique and to commentary, like whatever. Because like I don't know, it's just not fair. And again, I guess this goes back to this authoritative thing, this authoritative versus collaborative thing, where it's just like, yeah, you got to get in the trenches with people. Like you got to get in the trenches with the artists. Like you really got to like figure out like what's driving them, like, and to the best of your ability, because even that is like, it's always going to be a little, opaque for, the sake of the artist and like their own privacy and like all of that. But like nonetheless, like try to get in there about like what's actually like motivating this work and, shapes how it, comes out and like all of that. So yeah, I don't
Not to
know.
quote a white woman before we go, because I do have to
Oh
leave.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No worries.
That white lady, Brene Brown,
I'm
not to
dead.
be like this, but she
Niggas
got
love
this
Renee.
one. She got this one quote where she really ate with that one little thing, and she said
Uh-huh.
that you shouldn't take advice from people who aren't being brave with their lives. Like, how you gonna tell me how to be brave with my life, and you're not being brave with your life? You sitting
Mhm,
over there, you a keyboard warrior, and you
mhm,
telling me if my shit is good or not good, and
mhm,
I just bared my fucking soul, and you
mhm.
like, I listened to it 1.5 times, and I decided that it's not good.
Right.
And I think that goes for anything, any work that like you are doing passionately, you are doing earnestly and from your soul and imperfectly. I think that anyone interacting with that work
Mhm,
should be respecting the, like, how brave you have to be to do
mhm,
that over and over again. And I
mhm,
think that, going back to your question about collaboration, I think that is what's missing,
mhm,
is the respect for each other's humanity. And
mhm,
like, this took a lot for a motherfucker to put themselves out there in this way.
mhm,
And like, a motherfucker write a song about their failed marriage, and
mhm.
you like hated it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's actually nuts.
Nuts.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's actually nuts. And
Yeah.
so I think we've got to get back
Yeah.
to that, to like respecting each other's humanity, and
Mhm,
and I mean, because that is the purpose of art. I don't think that art really is here to save the world. I think
mhm,
art is here to motivate us to keep going, to give us
mhm,
something to relate to remind us that we aren't alone. And
mhm,
like, maybe you've never had a failed marriage, so maybe you are not the demographic for this.
mhm,
And maybe you don't write the piece.
mhm,
Don't write the piece, you
mhm,
know?
mhm. To whom it may concern, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I think those are my thoughts. Yeah. That's what I have to say today.
I'm dead. Well, thank you. This was nice. I enjoyed this.
This
Yeah,
was
thank you.
great, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. I'll make sure to send over the recording and over to you and everything. But yeah, like love to stay in contact, stay in touch, all of that.
We
Yeah.
will. And I don't know if you said this, Zuri, to Yaya, but Zuri successfully defended their dissertation earlier today. So I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Got the white man's paperwork. So, you know.
Listen, go up in them places and get your
I was
jobs
like,
and
get that
Hello.
money,
Right.
get what you got
Right.
to get. But
Right. Get in and get out. But yeah.
yeah, enjoy your dinner as you celebrate tonight. And Yaya, I can't wait for midnight because I'm pressing play on the album. So
When I tell you, I'm not even exaggerating. The way Egyptian Musk is on repeat, like I cannot even I can't even explain to you enough how much I fucking needed that song right now. So I'm also excited for the album. So yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yaya, did you know you were releasing it on a full moon in Aries? Like you just releasing it at the right day. Like
Yeah, I was really happy this album release. I'm really happy. I'm really excited. I feel good. I'm usually like a really anxious person, but I don't feel anxious. I just feel
Yeah.
like, I don't know, just, I guess, grateful. I just feel grateful that
Yeah.
I'm putting music out. And I'm doing what I love. I really love what I do. So
Yeah.
I'm just happy. I'm seeing my friends. My friends are coming in from DC, and
Yeah.
like, so I'm just, I don't know. I'm vibing. I'm in New
Yeah.
York right now, like,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go party. I'm about to go try
Right.
to find some really cool earrings. So I'm about to go to King's Plaza to see if I could find some, like, to Akira to see if they got something. And I just
Yeah.
vibe. And
Yeah.
congrats, that's a
Thank
big
you.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah,
congrats.
I mean, similarly, like, I mean, I'm not let you go because I love to talk y'all. But what's for you can't pass you by. Because, like, similarly, I was in my defense and I didn't sweat at any point. Like, I was just like, I'm look, this it's already it's meant to be. It's already I made it this far. It's just meant to happen. So I definitely relate to that feeling a lot. Just like feeling like really aligned right now. And it's just like what's for you can't pass you by. And anything that passed you by wasn't meant for you. So,
I
so
love
all that to
that.
say, I'm excited to get into the work. So
Yeah, enjoy
yeah,
yourself, and yeah, celebrate, have a good time.
thank you. You too.
All
Yeah.
right, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Talk later.
Have a
Peace
good
out.
day.
You
You
too.
too.